Welcome to the 4-3-4 defense. My name is Deuce Prince. I'm a Charlottesville, Virginia native, lifelong UVA football fan, and former college offensive lineman. And we've got an action-packed episode coming up for you here with no UVA game this Saturday. It's a weird feeling to know you're playing a game in 3 weeks and not have one right in front of you because we're going to a bowl game, playing in one for the first time since the 2019 season. Obviously, we didn't play the Fenway Bowl in 2020, and the University of Virginia so far has seen, thankfully, few opt-outs, a couple guys enter the transfer portal. Seems like the staff stability is there. So I feel very, very good about the University of Virginia going into a hopefully great Gator Bowl against a very competitive, very tough Missouri team. But before we get into all of that, I'm never going to let a good story go by. You know, call that a fault in me. But the college football media news cycle has been completely hijacked today. Sharon Moore has been fired by the University of Michigan in the wake of an investigation surrounding an inappropriate relationship with a Michigan staffer. Just an awful situation all around. You know, I feel bad for Sharon's family. You know, Sharon has obviously a wife, has 3 daughters, has a family that they've all been very all in and very invested in Sharon's success at the University of Michigan. Obviously, they are seeing the same tweets that we are, the same kind of like just TMZ-like news stories and the same content around it. And in this situation, that's who I ultimately feel bad for. You know, I may be biased in this regard. I know people who have worked with Sharon. The people that I know thought very highly of Sharon. Thought he was a very good dude and a good football coach. And I think he's proved that at the University of Michigan, following Jim Harbaugh and following the sign stealing, the recruiting investigations. All of that was a very difficult task, along with the perception that he was merely a bridge coach. And I think he did admirably under the circumstances. Obviously, you know, had to deal with some suspensions, had to deal with people being on show cause orders, people not being able to be affiliated with the program. Like, it was a tough job, and I think he acquitted himself admirably on the field and especially on the recruiting trail. It seemed like Michigan was about ready to get back over the hump, you know, with a top 15 recruiting class, with the top quarterback in the country coming off of freshman year, where they kind of were able to work some of these kinks out. And Sharon Moore will not be there to see this to fruition. It will be another coach. And we likely will not see Sharon in the coaching world, especially at the Division I level, for, I suspect, a couple of years. And Sharon is going to have to feast at the banquet of his own decisions, like every person does. You know, we all have to, you know, go to bed with the decisions that we've made and the consequences of those decisions. However, you know, as a coach's kid, I've been the coach's kid that went to school the day after their dad got fired from a job. I've been there. That's been me. Now, thankfully, those were related to on-field situations. Like, you know what? At Kansas State, we didn't beat Kansas. Like, that sucks. I had to move and find a new school, had to make new friends, had to say goodbye to all my friends in Kansas. But like, you know, my family, like my dad, myself, we can all sit back and reminisce on the good times in Manhattan, Kansas, or in Detroit, or anywhere else, and feel really good about kind of what we were about in football. Now that I'm on the media side of football, now that my dad's retired from coaching football, now that my brothers have all finished college football, we can all kind of sit back and be like, you know what? Them's the breaks. That's the industry. As Bum Phillips said, there are only two types of coaches, the ones that have been fired and the ones that are going to get fired. And you know what? If you can get out of this industry, this football thing in one piece, in terms of your reputation, in terms of your health, in terms of your mental health, that's a great thing. And unfortunately, Sharon won't have that, and Sharon's family won't have that. This is going to be a really hard thing to overcome. You know, that's something that you always are going to kind of have to live with. And that's just coming from the perspective of someone who's seen this thing happen for just on-field reasons. I can't even imagine how difficult this is for the Moore family, for Sharon's wife, for Sharon's daughters. Like, I'm sure they were hoping and expecting and like wishing that they would be able to retire at the University of Michigan. That's a top 3 job. Now that we can pay these kids out in the open, and it's not under the table or through the back door, as Coach O would call it, and we can just walk through the front door, Michigan is a top 3 job, top 5 job minimum. You know, some people are like, oh yeah, it's kind of on the same level as Penn State. No, it's not. Oh, it's kind of on the level of Florida. It is not. It's Michigan, it's Ohio State, it's Notre Dame, Georgia, and Alabama. Like, that's it. That's the top tier of this thing. And, you know, if you're going to get fired from a job like that, you better hope and plan that it's an on-field situation. Because if it were just on the field and they had just said, you know what, Sharon, you lost to Ohio State. That was one of the things that kept you here. You didn't beat Ohio State. We're letting you go. I'm sure there are a lot of people who would be very ready to call and hire Sharon Moore. A lot of openings that would have been like, absolutely. Played a tough physical brand of football at Michigan. Like, you know, kind of navigated Michigan through the post-sign stealing scandal after the post-national championship roster turnover. Like, that is a valuable skill collection and couple feathers in your hat to have as a coach. Sharon Moore would have not had a problem finding work. He's not like as well regarded as like a Lane Kiffin or a Nick Saban or a Kirby Smart, but God only makes so many of those guys. And unfortunately, it was for a situation off the field that, for lack of a better word, Sharon Moore could have controlled. And I feel bad for him in the sense that he's going to have to do a lot of work on himself, on his relationships, on his professional career. Like, he's going to have to try and build back from this thing. No one is perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. Sharon Moore's not perfect. And it's going to take time and it's going to take effort. It's going to be incredibly tough on his family. You know, Sharon Moore's wife is going to have to go and get groceries at the grocery store. You know, Sharon Moore's kids are going to have to go to school. They're going to go out. They're going to be in the world. And when you are the spouse or child of a Power 5 head coach, let alone a school like Michigan, you can't necessarily just roll through and not have anyone recognize who you are. And there are a lot of Twitter fingers and a lot of people saying a lot of things about Sharon. There are unfortunately people who will do that in real life to Sharon Moore's family. And granted, this sport is powered by spite to an extent. There are a lot of Ohio State people who are eating this up, really enjoying it. There are a lot of people generating a lot of clicks off the situation. And I would just say, like, as someone who has been a coach's kid, who's seen this happen to other people, like, just make sure that you keep in mind that Sharon Moore is not the only person that is negatively affected by this. it's going to be Sharon's wife. It's going to be Sharon's kids. It's going to be everyone in that Moore family and also Sharon. And like they're going to face a long road back from this to feeling normal. Just normal, not great. Like not like, oh man, we're the head coaching family at Michigan, great. Like it's going to take a lot of work just to get back to feeling kind of normal. And so if I could, dear viewer, if I could tell you anything, just make sure you keep that in mind because it's not just Sharon Moore. It's not just the staffer who was involved in this as well. Like there are other people that do get affected by this. So like coach's kid, Deuce hat off, UVA 4-3-4 defense hat back on. Just need to get that off my chest on this platform. All right, back to the football. All right, so the University of Virginia so far has had 2 players enter the transfer portal. The biggest effect is being, oh my goodness, why am I not Englishing correctly right now? The biggest player we're going to be losing pretty much for sure is Jason Prevard. Obviously, great cornerback season for the University of Virginia. One of our best. Just kept on showing up, kept on making plays, kept on having a positive impact on the game. You knew where number 10 was going to be because he would just kind of be there on important plays like in Florida State, like in Virginia Tech, like in North Carolina. Like the list goes on and on. Like this dude was a gamer. Great job. And unfortunately, he obviously understands his market value, and I think someone's going to go out and give him a pretty decent bag to go to their school. So, like, wishing Prevard the best of luck. Hoping he does really, really well. It sucks to see him go, but obviously got a great coaching staff, great guys on the bench. I mean, shoot, we had true freshmen making plays in the ACC championship game. This does not mean our season's over. And then Tyshawn Watt coming over as a redshirt senior. He only played in a couple games this year for the University of Virginia. Entering the portal, wasn't necessarily a true starter on the offensive line for us, so we'll just see what the impact of that is. We obviously had a couple offensive linemen sign on early National Signing Day, and I would suspect at least a couple more to come from the transfer portal and then the later National Signing Day in 2026. So, you know, I'm not too worried. It sucks that we're going to be losing Jason Prevard. Had a couple years of eligibility left. I think it would have been amazing to see him in orange and blue for the rest of his collegiate career and hopefully on to the NFL because based off this year, that's the trajectory for him. Just not great to see him go, but in the grand scheme of things, we have seen other teams get hit much harder by the transfer portal, and the University of Virginia, as we know, is going to take advantage of that. We were big in the portal last year. We're going to be big in the portal this year. It's going to continue to be that way, I think, you know, because I don't think you can ever truly get away from the portal in this new modern era. It is definitely an arms race. Dabo was like the last holdout of like, I don't mess with this portal. My guys are my guys from cradle to grave, from when they walk on campus to when they get that diploma. That is just not the world we're in anymore. And so, you know, I think our signing class wasn't necessarily highly regarded in the ACC, but at the same time, quick scouting rant, these stars are fugazi. Like, they are so fugazi. Because they don't judge scheme fit, they don't judge school fit, they don't judge a lot of these things. A lot of it is, you have other college offers, we're going to give you stars accordingly. And so you end up in this feedback loop where kids get offers because they have stars, and then people get stars because they have offers, and often very little of it is based on things outside the height, weight, and 40 time, or just kind of the eye test. You don't know how someone's going to be until they get into that first college practice and they get lit up. You know, you're 18, 19 years old and you face a 23, 24-year-old grown man, sometimes even older depending on if you have a couple COVID years and you're facing a 28-year-old grown-ass man. You know, that's a shock for a lot of kids. And some people shrink and some people grow from it. You don't know, though. You don't know what you have in a kid. until that point. The stars and the camps and the huddle tape can only give you so much. Everyone has a plan until they are all of a sudden a very small fish in a very big pond and you get punched in the mouth. So do not doom scroll about Virginia's signing day class and how it pertains to our performance in 2026. You can only really know until these guys get into camp, until they start playing at the college level, until they're in those meeting rooms, until they start having to take notes on the playbook, until they start having to make plays in the game, because there is often a massive divergence between stars and the 24/7 rankings and actual performance. It's fun. It's great to get to know the guys who are coming into the program. It's great to get excited and hyped up about that. I am not raining on anyone's Cruton parade. But you also got to know that it's just kind of a dice roll sometimes. These things are never sure things. You know, sometimes you may have a first round pick recruiter that is like, man, this is my guy, 5 stars. And then he gets hit or tackled or blocked in a certain way, and the dude just loses all confidence. That does happen. It happens quite a bit in the college football world. So, yeah, just take it with a grain of salt. Watch the tape. See what these kids are actually doing. Check out their social media. See if they're being a valuable member of society. See if they're actually doing things the right way. Because at the University of Virginia, we need kids who are not only going to be great football players, but they need to be great students. They need to be great stewards of their community. They have to be good men. And that aligns with the university and what the coach wants. Tony Elliott is not running around with menace to society on the roster. Doesn't want to do that. He's going to get that out of his program as quickly as he can. And I think for the first couple of years, he had to kind of do that a little bit. So yeah, we didn't get a bunch of, and also, let me say this. We didn't get to 10 wins with a bunch of 5 stars either. The portal helped, but none of the guys we got in the portal were like a Carson Beck, a Nico Amialava tier. Like, we didn't get any of those guys. We got guys that were kind of down on their luck. Chandler Morris needed to find his love for football again. He was like on the ropes before he got to Virginia because he was just like, this game doesn't love me anymore. Like, we didn't get anyone that was like, oh my God. Like, no one was tweeting about Virginia's portal class outside of the people that are really in the weeds. No one nationally was like, man, that Virginia portal class. So yeah, I am not necessarily worried. I'm willing to give Tyler Jones and the rest of the personnel staff and Coach Elliott and Coach Kitchens and Coach Rudd enough rope because they've shown that they can do this and extract value higher than the stars than a lot of these players were initially given. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. This thing is a total crapshoot at a certain point when it comes to especially high school recruiting. And man, I am of two minds about what I've seen from the Virginia community about the Gator Bowl. We got to talk about the Duke game for like 5 minutes. I'm a big believer in the 24-hour rule. Watch the film, grind the tape, 24 hours, flush it. Could have taken advantage of a great spot there to win and go to the college football playoff. Would have been a great moment for the University of Virginia football program. It would have been an amazing thing on the national stage to see that V-Sabre logo on the bracket. The project is not over because we're not there. I think a sober analysis, with no regard for Duke, like if it were Miami or if it were SMU or anyone else, I think most people would have thought, we're still probably a couple years away. We're still a couple players away. We're still a couple pieces on the personnel side away. And that's not to disparage the talent or effort of the people on the roster or the staff. We are in year 4 of a 10-year program project right now. So the fact that we weren't knocking down the door and getting into the national championship, I choose not to feel discouraged by that. I choose to look at the year-over-year progress and be like, man, we're starting to see some fruit from this thing now. And at the same time, we've seen teams get into the playoff or get onto these games in certain situations, and the moment gets so big that they feel that they've arrived in a sense that, all right, we're in the playoff, you know, we know what we're doing right, and we weren't expecting to win in the playoff anyway, so whatever, we'll just run it back. The Duke game exposed that we have things that we need to work on from a personnel perspective side, from a coaching side, from an organizational side. It very much laid bare the things that we still have to improve to be nationally competitive. And I think it's a blessing in disguise because we've got a great challenge coming up in the Gator Bowl. An awesome opportunity. Selfishly, because we're playing in Jacksonville, and that's a 4-hour drive for me that I can do very easily, as opposed to like 11 to the Duke's Mayo Bowl, or like, God forbid, the Sun Bowl, or anything up north. Like, that would have been a nightmare of a trip just to get to go over to Jacksonville. And Jacksonville's a fun town. Jacksonville's a great time. We'll be able to get down to Jacksonville, watch the game, play against a very competitive Missouri team that I think we can beat given the circumstances. You know, I watched a lot of Missouri tape over the past couple of days. I don't know what to make of Bo Pribula. Given his injury, given his usage, he wasn't much of a factor in the passing game against Arkansas, a game that they won fairly handedly. They were solid up front, I thought. Their running back, Ahmad Hardy, is great. They've got two very good edge rushers. So, like, this is a great challenge for our roster. And so far, I don't believe I've heard of any opt-outs. We're coming at pretty much full strength so far. Knock on wood, knock on wood. You know, Coach Elliott and Coach Drinkwitz, they both are very positive and both very excited to play in this game. I think it's been a great departure from the typical discourse we've seen around bowl games this year, with Notre Dame obviously deciding to take their ball and go home, or a bunch of other teams having huge numbers of opt-outs, or guys hitting the portal, or teams literally not being able to field a roster for the bowl game. Come on, Iowa State and Kansas State. Like, it's a tough situation. I get it, but come on, man. So, like, we're in a situation where we're going to have a lot of the roster. We're going to we have another game to send the seniors off in the right way. Guys who have stuck with the program, guys that have stuck with Coach Elliott, stuck with this mission, maintained their focus, kept the faith, and we're now achieving parts of these goals. Guys are going to be able to go out having played in a bowl game. Imagine telling some of these guys in 2022 or 2023 that we were going to have a chance to play as a ranked number 20 team in a bowl game. Not in, like, the Poulon Weed Eaters Blue Bonnet Bowl. Like, the Gator Bowl's a legit bowl. It's obviously not up there with, like, the Orange Bowl and the Sugar Bowl, but, like, that's a great bowl to be in. Great opportunity. Nothing to scoff at. So we go in as a double-digit win team with a chance to break the program record in wins for the first time ever, win 11 games. It's a great opportunity. And I think our guys are going to be up for it. I think the guys are up for the challenge to play against an SEC opponent who I think is very talented. They're well coached. Kellen Moore's brother is their offensive coordinator. If you didn't know, they've got a great defensive coordinator. They've got a bunch of good athletes on that team. Ahmad Hardy and Jamari Taylor and Harrison Whaley. Like, if you love running games, this will be a great game to watch. I totally could see both teams in this game run for over 150 yards because it'll just be amazing. The weather will be nice in Jacksonville. It won't be uber cold in an NFL facility. I hope Missouri travels well. If you're a Missouri fan, comment down below. I'm excited to play you guys. Virginia and Missouri have played exactly once, and the Mizzou fans that I've interacted with on Twitter have been nothing but pleasant. Really enjoyed interacting with you guys. Hopefully we can see each other at the game. Like, excited to see you guys. To all the Virginia fans, I'm excited to see more of you. Obviously met a ton of you guys at the Virginia Tech game. I'm hoping that we bring similar luck. You bet your ass I'm still bringing Panera before the game. We're going to still keep with the same tradition. We're going to still rock with the same thing. Lived in Jacksonville for a year while my dad coached for the Jags. Went to Everbank Field a bunch of times. If you've never been, it's a great stadium. It's a great time. I will not be doing the swimming pool. I think I'll pass on that. That was before, that was after I moved away from Jacksonville, but I think I'll pass on that. Yeah, no. But yeah, excited to be over in Jacksonville. I drive through Jacksonville a ton, but I don't have a whole lot of reasons often to stop in Jacksonville. So yeah, to my boy Nate Collins, Dr. Fax, I hope we can turn it into Whoval. You know, we've got Duval County, where Jacksonville is, if you didn't know. Their whole thing, the Jaguars, you probably heard it, Duval. You know, we've got two schools that can come up with a Duval remix pretty quickly. Like you got Zooval for Mizzou, and then you've got Whoval for the Who's. It's nice little matchup. And you know what? I think both teams are motivated to play well in this game. You know, Missouri has had some really poor injury luck over the course of this year. They've kept the top tier of the SEC really close. They kept it close against Bama. They kept it close against Oklahoma. They kept it close against a bunch of these really good teams, and they just managed to eke out a couple wins. And then those 4 losses, none of them were blowouts. So, like, I think they want to end their season on a high note. Drinkwitz just signed a 6-year extension to stay in Columbia, Missouri. I believe they should have some guys coming back. I don't know what their portal situation is. Really don't know. What Pribula will do, what Hardy will do, what some of these other guys will do. But I have not heard a bunch of information about a ton of guys opting out from the limited information from Missouri that I have in my feed. So, yeah, 2 teams at relatively full strength going at it with a chance to win a trophy. Like, what more can you ask for? You know, as a Virginia fan and as someone who grew up going to these games, I can tell you some of my fondest memories from Virginia football growing up real little were the Continental Tire Bowls in Charlotte, North Carolina. It wasn't a destination bowl game. It wasn't the Orange Bowl. It wasn't like the Outback Bowl even. It was the Continental Tire Bowl. We played West Virginia and Pitt. Won both games against a very good West Virginia team and then a Larry Fitz-led Pittsburgh team. But, like, these bowl games should be and are fun. I had a great time in those Continental Tire Bowls this game. It was, like, some of the most I'd seen of my dad since the season would begin. You know, I'd be asking my mom at the team hotel where we were staying, I was like, how is Santa going to get the presents into our hotel room? Because if you don't know, coaches' families will often stay the whole time while they're there for a bowl game, like 4 or 5 days, sometimes even a whole week in the lead up while the team's practicing and doing all the kind of rah-rah bowl game activities. And so, like, I was just like, oh man, we're in a hotel for this week. How is Santa going to get into the room? Like, forgive me, I am in total nostalgia mode, but it is just a ton of fun and, like, just make the most of it. It's college football. This is, like, if you want pure objectivity, playoff or go home, A, watch the NFL, or B, make Excel spreadsheets. Like, this is an inherently emotional enterprise at the end of the day. Obviously, it's motivated by a lot of dollars and cents, but people wouldn't care about it if there wasn't some emotion to it. And I think if you can't get up for a game like this and at least watch it on TV, if you can't make it to the game, or if you can, be there, be loud, be excited. Like, this is what good college football feels like. I don't think anyone expected Virginia to be in the college football playoff this year. I certainly didn't. I think that's a goal that we can work towards. That's like a 10-year project, though. Just remember that, like, or at least a 7-year project for us to really get there and get the, like, artillery necessary to make that push consistently. So we're in year 4. We made a massive leap forward. Let's be very excited. And if you can make it to the game in Jacksonville, go, because this roster and the guys that are departing after this season, graduation, the NFL, whatever it may be, I think they deserve our thanks, and I think they deserve that good send-off from us. These guys have dedicated a lot of effort to the University of Virginia, endured unbelievable tragedy, especially if they were there when Tony Elliott first started here and we had the awful situation at the school. These guys have stuck together. They've worn that V-Saber with pride, and have helped restore kind of the hope and the good feeling about Charlottesville. Charlottesville had a hell of a couple year stretch there when we had the worst bastards in American history, this side of the Confederacy, march through Charlottesville. Then 3 football players are slain in cold blood. Like, it was a tough time in Charlottesville, man. Like, we don't give ourselves enough grace on that. It was a tough couple years there with, like, Virginia football occasionally there to kind of make people feel good about things. Basketball, obviously, being there, other sports. But, like, our city has been through a lot. This team has been through a lot. They fought hard. We fought hard, stuck together. And not to make it more than a game, but like it really is an opportunity for Charlottesville to be very, very proud of itself. You know, I get people stopping me in Publix in Florida, in South Florida, with the playoff-bound Miami Hurricanes just on the other side of the Everglades, the Florida Seminoles just a couple hours away, the University of Florida right there, USF off the best year in like 20 years, and people are pulling me aside and they're like, man, you're the first Virginia fan I've ever seen walking around. You guys are having a hell of a year. I'm happy for you guys. How about it? And I'm like, yeah, this is amazing. I'm sure people all across the country who are UVA fans are having a similar experience when they're wearing Virginia gear, because a lot of people are like, man, I didn't know Virginia had football fans. And then I saw the Florida State game and I saw thousands of you run full sprint. But no, like, Virginia is becoming a football school. We're not there yet. That's a long project. And so I think this is a critical part of it. If we go out there and we take care of business and we go and make sure that we play the best football that we can, that we rep in Jacksonville, that we're there and we're loud, this will be not only a great stepping stone if we're able to win the game, but also just a great celebration of the group of guys that have been on this team, that have kept the faith and stuck together, as well as the fan base that has stuck together through the hard times, through the 2-win years, the 3-win years, the mystifying losses, some of the crazy harebrained scheme-ass plays that we've ran in clutch situations. We haven't exercised all the demons yet, as we know from the Duke game. But, like, there's been a hell of a lot of progress since then. So, yeah, like, long story short, if you can make it to Jacksonville, I can't wait to see you. Be loud, be there. We're going to come out with a bunch of content throughout the next couple of weeks surrounding this bowl game, surrounding what it means for the University of Virginia, how we can best approach this game, and how we can best win it. But I wanted to dedicate today with just how excited I am for this game and the awesome things that I do believe it means for UVA football. So yeah, very, very excited for this game. We're going to keep it rocking and rolling. In terms of some of the other things that we have going on here at the University of Virginia, I think it'll be very, very interesting to see what happens coaching-wise. I don't think we are getting rid of anyone after this year. You know, so I'm totally blanking on where I saw the stat, but Des Kitchings converted the most third downs in the country as an offensive coordinator. Like, if you were in the Fire Des camp, I'm sorry. Like, you win 10 games, have an offensive year like that. There are sure some frustrating moments, but like that level of third down conversion, 10 wins, I'm still willing to see down the line. Who knows what will happen with Coach Rudd on the defensive side of the ball? I definitely had him up there on my Broyles Award ballot. I don't have a Broyles Award ballot that I send in, but like if I were voting on the Broyles Award, Coach Radzinski would be my first vote. Did amazing work with our defense, turned a kind of moribund unit into one of the best in the Atlantic Coast Conference and one of the best in the country, especially in terms of pass defense. Did a great job locking dudes down. You know, I think there will inevitably be some shuffle. I think, once you win double-digit games, you start to enter guys getting picked off for jobs, whether it's a grad assistant getting a position coaching job or position coach moving up to a coordinator role or coordinator moving up to a head coach. Like, that shuffle inevitably happens, especially now that we're at the point where a lot of these positions are filled by head coaches, and now the head coaches are starting to fill out staffs. And it's not just at the Power 4 level. You know, if you are a grad assistant at a P5 school and an FCS team wants to offer you a position role, you're more than likely going to take that. That's a step up in career advancement. So, like, it's not just going to be, is Penn State going to try and pick off a couple of Virginia guys, or is Florida going to try and pick off a couple guys? It'll be programs like Norfolk State or Bucknell or Lehigh. Like, any number of these teams could end up getting some of our guys. And that's a sign of health for a program, that you are getting guys promoted because you're doing well. So don't feel as though just the fact that people are departing to take advancement and take other jobs is a bad thing. Obviously, it's only good in the sense that you can find good replacements who can match or exceed that production. But it is a sign of health when guys are getting picked off for bigger and better jobs or positions where their careers are advancing. Shoot, it's how Tony Elliott ended up at the University of Virginia. He was Dabo Swinney's offensive coordinator and was able to take a position of career advancement to be a Power 5 head coach. Like, you're not picking off necessarily the offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator or any coach from the 2-8 team or the 2-10 team. You're typically looking for winning programs. So if someone does come calling for one of our coaches, that is probably a good thing for the program, in the sense that it means that people recognize that we're winning and doing good things. Obviously, we got to replace those guys if they end up going. Like, if you do, best of luck to you. Thank you for your service at the University of Virginia. Go be great. Always welcome back, and hopefully we can find someone good to replace you. Like, because at the end of the day, it is a business, and you got to make hay while the sun shines, because there are only two types of coaches, y'all. Ones that have been fired and ones that are going to be fired. So, like, you got to make hay while the sun shines. But, you know, circling back, so excited for this bowl game. I think it's going to be an excellent cap onto the end of this year. If there's anything you want me to talk about in preparation for the Gator Bowl, just in general about this season, please drop it down in the comments below. I'm more than happy to take those suggestions and run with them. Very excited to hopefully meet a lot of y'all in Jacksonville here in a couple of weeks. And man, go Hoos. It's a great place to be right now. So thank you so much for watching. Appreciate all you tuning in. Please like, share, comment down below, and have a great night, and go Hoos.